Welcome to the first challenge of intermediate month. So we're working with a familiar data set here from our beginner month. So we've got information about our transactions that are happening and those values from different banks. So first of all, to be able to identify the individual banks, we're going to split off just the first characters that come before the first dash, which you'll remember from week 1. So I just split the values, custom split, with a dash and split off the first, and that will give us in our next step here, you can see we now have a bank field. For the transaction date, this time we're going to change it to be just looking at the month, so we're discounting any information about the day, the year, anything like that. So we go to the drop down here, convert dates into the month name. So when we click on that, then this is the field that we get out of there, all of the months. Now what we want to do is we want to have one row for each month and for each bank, so totaling up the value of that month for the bank. So we do a group by the transaction date, a group by the bank, and we sum the value there. So now that we have this information, a row for each date, so for each month and for each bank, we actually want to know in each month which bank has performed the best, which has had the most value. So we're going to use a ranking here. So on the value field, we go to the three dots here menu, we go to create calculator field, and we go to rank. And that gives us a nice visual editor to work with. We can see that it's going in descending order, and at the moment, because we haven't selected anything to group by, it is just going across all 36 rows and doing rankings 1 to 36. But actually we want that to happen for each month, so in the group by section we choose the transaction date here, and then we get for each month the top 3 ranking of those 3 banks. So in August, for example, DS are the best and DSB are unfortunately the worst. So that's how we do that, and we can just rename the calculation here and we have that ranking. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that from my changes pane because I don't actually need that. I've already done that. I've got that field here. Next up, we want to know, okay, we know that what the ranking is for each bank. What's the average over time? So of all time for each of those banks, where did they rate on average across those months? So how we do that is we go to our rank field and we go to the 3 dots menu again, go to that create calculator field, and this time we're going to go to a fixed level of detail. And again, we get a similar kind of visual editor, which is really nice to work with. We can see that we've got our bank rank per month, and rather than it being a minimum, we actually want it to be an average. Surprise, surprise, that will make it 2. But we want to group it by our bank this time. So for each of those banks, let's calculate the average rank. So we can see that now what we have is that actually, if I click done here, DSB, our data source bank, they actually are ranking on average 2.3, so that means that they are at the higher end of all of the other banks, so that's good. Again, I'm just going to get rid of this change because I've already actually calculated this field, it's here. And then our final step that we want to work out is we want to know the average transaction amount for each of these ranking positions. So again, that's going to need a level of detail calculation. We're going to go to our value field, go to create calculator field, and fix level of detail. Again, we're going to change that value to be an average rather than a minimum. And we're going to group this time by the rank field so that we get the average value. So on average, what did you have to do to be ranked first place? You had to have a value of 66,000. So you can see it's quite interesting how much more than second place on average first place was. Okay, so again, I'm just deleting that change because I've already done it in the step here as well. Now we have all the fields and we're ready to just output our data set. So hopefully that was straightforward how we carried out those steps, particularly with the ranking and the level of detail calculations, and I look forward to seeing you next week for the next intermediate challenge. Thanks for watching.